Fantastic. So the planner covers. I think this is the part of the project that was the most enjoyable for me. But at the end of the day, it really backfired because I couldn't even decide which cover I wanted to use this year. So let me show you what I came up with this year. Those of you who purchased last year will know that there were two planner covers. It was a rose gold and a black. This year, I couldn't decide, so I ended up producing 6 different covers. So let's see what we've got. We've got the green, which is currently the top seller. We've got the leopard. We've got the red. And then we've got the black, which is the second best seller, the orchid, and the gold, which is the one I ended up selecting for myself. So I think you'll agree with me, something for everyone's tastes. And I'm sure that the one that you've bought is the one that really works for you aesthetically. So I am getting more stock in. This probably will be the last order. So if you haven't yet ordered and you are interested, please make sure you're on the wait list so that I can get those out to you. A couple of people on today's call have already pre-ordered and are on that wait list. So I've got yours ready to go. Now, the planners I'm selling in 3 different formats, planner only, and that is specifically if it's being sent a long distance. You know, I'm living in South Africa, which is about, I think, an 8-hour flight from London. So you can imagine that shipping is quite restrictive to certain countries. I've got the planner gift box, which is my favorite. It's got some stationery in it, and it's got a little bit of almost a festive gift-like feel to it, which I really enjoy putting together. It's that little personal touch. And then we've got the deluxe option, which is a cover, a leather cover that's specifically made to fit the planner, which is produced by a local South African company, all hand dyed leather, all hand stitched. It's something that's going to last you forever. So it's really, you know, it's a collaboration project. I'm not selling those directly, but I can order those in for you and ship it with your planner. So that's the offering at the moment. So let's talk about the content sections. What's physically in this planner this year? We've got a little cover page, and this year's theme was very much inspired by nature. And I think everyone who's spent time in lockdown, confined to their apartments or homes and not able to be out in the sunshine, can understand why this theme resonated with me this year. So you'll see that coming through in very subtle elements throughout the planner. We have a goal setting page. Now, very important here, we're going to be going through how to use this page effectively. And then also you've got the word for 2021. And I want to encourage you to have a word for the year. Now in 2020, my word was abundance, because it's something that I want to bring into my life. So I want you to reflect on what your word should be for 2021. I think a very, very important part before we can even move on and approach 2021 in a way that's meaningful and sensible is we need to reflect on what happened in 2020. People keep saying it's been an unprecedented year, unique challenges, things we never in our life thought we'd be going through. And I think when things go wrong or when we're faced with challenges, the gems really are the lessons that we take away. So I want to urge you to reflect on what worked, what didn't work, what did you learn? You know, I think the biggest thing I learned was that when you're grateful for what you have then becomes enough. And it's had a huge impact on my lifestyle, as I'm sure it's impacted all of you. It's impacted us with who we tend to spend time with, who we're allowed to spend time with. It's impacted our hobbies, our work, our social lives, our spiritual lives, all of it. So find those lessons, hold on to those lessons, because those will be valuable to you in 2021. The next thing I've added is important dates. This is a great little place to add birthdays or anniversaries, that kind of thing. The idea here for me was that I've got them all in one place. You can also add them to your physical calendar, but I always like to have this kind of page in a diary. Then you're going to have access to VIP content. This module will form part of that content, as I've mentioned, for you to be able to review. You will also have access to all of last year's content, as well as new content that I will be generating throughout 2020. So please make sure that you access this link in your planner. It takes you directly to a page with all the links to all the content. And please keep an eye on it because it will be updated. So the first divider you'll find in the planner is the year ahead. Now, if you've got a gold themed planner, it will look like the one I'm showing you. But for example, the black planner has a silver accent on this page. You're going to have your normal 12-month calendar layout. This is very useful to me to just put in important things like, for example, this morning session will be on the calendar noted as planner session, and I will be able to track my month at a view. So this is not for minute detail. This is just to give me an overview to be able to access the information at a glance. This year, I've also added a plan on a page because I think for a lot of us, we've had a year where planning pretty much flew out of the window. We, as assistants, as people who are interested in planners, we feel the need to be able to plan our lives. And 2020 was really bad for people who operate that way. And I found I needed to get a firmer handle on what I really wanted the outputs to be for the month. So let's have a look at what I'm tracking and why. First thing is the top 3 goals. Okay, I want to always keep that on my radar. It's on every page for the year because, as we've seen in 2020, your priorities might change, your focus might change. So it's not necessarily that you'll have the same focus for every month. The next thing is an overarching theme for the month. So, for example, this month, my focus is to put together my online training offerings, get them onto the website, start working out my social media plan for the year. So this is the kind of thing that will be listed under focus for the month. So that's physical activities that you need to get done in the month that would be the core of what you're trying to achieve. The next thing, things to prepare for. You know, this is a great place. If you've got a big online session happening, you could list it there. If you have a kid's birthday, you could list it there. So the things to prepare for would be more logistical things. Development activity, I really value ongoing development. So as much as I provide development to others, I also need to fill my cup. So I've committed to making sure that I have one development activity every month. And then reading and research. This is the kind of place where you can put down the webinars that you want to rewatch or watch, put down the books that you want to read. So for me, this kind of, if you get to the end of the month, you'll go back to your plan on a page and you'll see, have I actually ticked these boxes? Have I achieved what I set out to when I planned the month ahead? Weekly planning. Now, for those of you who bought the 2020 planner and haven't used it, because there are many, many people who haven't used it, and I totally understand why. You have the opportunity to basically reuse your planner from last year because the pages are undated. And I've done that for a very specific reason. I use an integration of digital and paper when I try to organize my life. And often 2 or 3 weeks will go by where I don't use the paper, and I absolutely hate wasting. So I can always go back and just fill in the dates and reuse that. So please, if you've got your planner from 2020, don't think that it's something you can't use this year. So this year's weekly layouts look as follows. And under each day of the week, I'm simply adding the date. And I usually do this on a Sunday when I do all my planning for the week ahead. So you'll see I've got the priorities for the week ahead, which is quite nice. Again, just putting everything in one place to say, this is what I'm focusing on. This is what is non-negotiable. Then I've put in important things to remember. And this is basically from the format that I would like to use. So I hope you're going to find this as useful as I'm already finding it. Then we go over to the to-do list. Now, to-do list, I use a combination, like I said to you, of digital and paper. But when I feel very overwhelmed, very stressed, very challenged, then I revert to a paper to-do list, and it's just to collect my thoughts. Now, as a results-based coach, we work with neuroscience. We work on how your brain processes. And there's a very, very magical thing that happens when you put pen to paper. It is completely different from typing on your laptop. So your brain immediately says, oh, we are doing something different, something more focused. And often, a lot of us feel very overwhelmed by the amount of digital content that we're consuming. So sitting down with a cup of tea and your paper to-do list often helps you focus better. So that's really what it's about for me. Now, I love this quote: productivity is never an accident. It's always the result of commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort. And I really do hope that you will be more productive in 2021. And productivity is not always about output. Productivity is often about being in the right headspace to be productive. So I want you to also consider not only work, but what is my self-care? How am I maintaining my engine? Because your body, your mind are the tools for you to achieve the work that needs to be done. It is the machine you use to earn a living. So I don't want you to think about caring for yourself or relaxing when you need it or taking a nap when you need it as a luxury. It is at this point critical maintenance. So please try and get that gear change this year. I think, like most of us, I found 2020 really challenging from a productivity point of view. I had 3 or 4 days in a row where I really was working very hard. And then the fifth day, I would say, you know, I just can't do it today. And in the beginning, I had a lot of resistance to myself when I had these moments. What I want to encourage you to do is, when you are feeling strong, get the results, but when your body says, please, I need a break, I want you to accept that and not be self-critical, because the work that you do when you're not feeling strong is often not of a good quality. So it's that balance that we need to bring into our lives. So here the to-do list, how I use it and why I use it. You'll see it's a little bit simplified from last year because I took out some of the columns that I wasn't using regularly. Okay. First thing is the type of task, because if you are doing time blocking and you bundle the same type of tasks together, you are reducing the switching cost in your brain. So what is the switching cost? I always use the analogy, it's like you're accessing a file to do a specific job, but then you change and you do another type of job. So you have to take out another file from another box, instead of using one file to complete similar tasks. So your brain actually has to switch between the different activities, and there is wasted energy and there's wasted time. So by grouping tasks, doing all your phone calls together, having a focus slot to do emails, having a focus slot to do research, this reduces that switching cost and also will eventually reduce your fatigue. I put in a brief description. And I think if anyone picks up my planner right now and reads the description, it doesn't make sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me. So just a prompt so that you know what it is. The due date. If a task doesn't have a due date in my life, it simply doesn't get done. So if a due date is not supplied, I will have to create a due date and really stick with it. Otherwise, I get into a cycle of procrastination on that item, and I keep saying, oh, it's not important, I'll do it someday. So a lot of people experience the same thing. So even if there isn't a due date, create it for yourself and be strict with yourself. Otherwise, you've got this to-do list running for pages and pages, and you're not really ticking off the items. Then priority 1, 2, or 3. This is important for me because I prioritize it and then I work according to the ones. So it doesn't matter how long the list gets, I look at the ones. And then done yet. This is where I can make notes for myself. If something is put on hold or postponed or rescheduled, I can always make a little note, or I can simply tick it off. Now, the other wonderful thing about the priorities, it gives you a sense of purpose, especially on the overwhelming days where you think, I don't know where to start. Having that prioritized beforehand often helps you to be more productive. When you are working on your to-do list, I'm going to give you the world's greatest hack. All of us have to-do lists that run for miles, most of us anyway. Your brain, you will find this again during the presentation, likes 3. So then you would go onto your priority list and you'll pick 3 items that are top priority and you'll focus on those first. Once they're completed, you can come back, but focus in on 3 items at a time. I know this sounds very woo-woo, but it actually does work. So I look forward to your feedback on how that works for you, because I found it super effective. I've had great results with coaching clients on time management using that technique. So zoom in on 3 things. You'll find it's easier to process those tasks and you'll feel less overwhelmed. Gratitude. Now, folks, I always add this to the planner because I think it's a very important practice for us in our lives. Like I said to you, one of the big lessons for me from 2020 was when you are feeling grateful, you can't feel fearful, you can't feel stressed. So changing that gear often reduces the anxiety that you've got going on. Thinking about the things that you're really grateful for really does have a lot of very good benefits. And I'm going to share those benefits with you during this presentation. But let's look at how I've put this together. Now, I've done 52 weeks of gratitude. And the whole reason why I haven't done daily gratitude is because I'm doing that anyway. At night before I go to bed, I usually spend a minute or 2 just reflecting on the day and what I'm really grateful for. I also have an app that when I feel like I want to journal it, I've got something to write it down into, which I'll share with you. But I found that I wanted to expand the practice, and that way I want to use every week something big that I'm grateful for, or the main thing that I felt gratitude about, and listing it for every week, because it then is a double practice and it's very effective to do it this way. So that's what the page looks like. Now, gratitude, some of the facts that I want you to know: it shields you from negativity. It makes you at least 25% happier. And in my case, it's probably 40% happier. It literally rewires your brain. If you can engage in this practice for 21 days, you will find yourself more positive, less stressed. So bringing me to my next point, it eliminates stress. It encourages the body to heal. It improves sleep. It boosts self-esteem and performance. It enhances the law of attraction and improves relationships. You know, I think a lot of us, those of us living with partners and spending more time with our partners than we ever have before, sometimes we bumped heads in 2020. You know, if you are thinking about what you're grateful for, you are smoothing that relationship over. You are picking the battles and deciding what's worth having an argument about. So I've seen the benefits of this for myself. I keep saying to people, last year is the most time that my husband and I ever spent under the same roof. We adore each other, but we've got very strong personalities. So I have found that we were bumping heads much more than usual. And this practice of gratitude and peace and patience into your life. So I want to encourage you to try that. Which brings me to the recommended apps. Now, these are apps that I personally use, I enjoy. I do a lot of research throughout the year trying to find things that work for me. So I install and uninstall 1,000 apps before I find something that I like. But I do want to share some of the real winners that I've been working on for about 12 months and that I'm using regularly and that I'm getting results from. So one of the things that I'm really enjoying is the Rainbow to-do list. Now, I always have little projects around my house, and I've got things that I want to declutter and things that I want to do. So this is where I basically run the projects in my house. And I really love the way it looks. The interface is beautiful. It's very simple. It's very elegant. Habits is, I'm going to talk about why habits really push you forward and get you to the results that you want, more than resolutions. Okay. When you are reinforcing daily habits and you have that little bit of serotonin every time you tick something off. Now, I know I'm talking to mostly assistants now. Have you ever looked at your to-do list, then added something that you've already completed just so you can tick it off? A lot of us do it, and it's for that little bit of serotonin that you get from ticking something off. So tracking your habits is a very nice way to reinforce that and to get that little bit of serotonin when you tick it off. So this interface, very simple, tracks it over a period of time, tells you how many days in a streak you've had. So I want to recommend that one. A brand new one I found is Habitica. Now, this is a strange little app. You've got, for those of you who are a little bit older and remember the Tamagotchi, it kind of works on that theory. For every time you complete a habit, or you are, that you can list positive and negative habits and you track it daily. And then you've got a little character who can then, get armor, get accessories, get a pet. So for some people, that's going to be a better interface. And it basically comes back to the gamification of tasks, which I'm really interested in. And for certain kinds of people, this is a much better approach. So please go and have a look at that, especially if you find it difficult to motivate yourself and you are highly visual. This is a great app for you. The other thing that I'm using is Simple Journal, and I'm using that for, like I mentioned to you, gratitude lists, ideas lists, trying to put ideas into one place. So I want to recommend that. It's also very nice. Note block is something I included in last year's planner. It is a way to take scans of the stuff that you have in your planner and organize them on your phone. Like I mentioned to you, the integration part is important for me. As much as I love holding that planner in my hand, I don't always want to travel with it. So I always want to back up on my phone because that's usually with me. Note block, you scan it like you would take a picture. You can create folders. So it's easy to organize. It's not just a bunch of random scans on your PC, okay, or on your phone. Forest is a great app for trying to limit your digital screen time. I found it, again, it's a gamification kind of approach, and I found it quite useful. So, my goal is to try and grow at least 4 trees a day, and I'm tracking that as a habit because my business is online. And I found that I'm spending a great deal of time online in some way or shape, and I'm missing out on the focused time to sit down and write and create. So I'm really trying this year to manage the digital contact that I have and to start limiting it strategically so that I can get some creative work done. So Insight Timer is great. It's a meditation app, all different modalities, themes, and it really is a very easy to use free app. I just want to mention on Android, all of these are free. I cannot tell you on iPhone whether they're all free. So please, these are recommendations specifically for Android because that's what I'm using, but I'm sure you'll be able to find something similar. The real gem, the thing that I really want you to install or look for a similar product is Visual Motivator. I've looked at a lot of apps having to do with vision boards. This is the simplest to use, the most enjoyable to use, the most visual. Now, folks, your brain, 40% of your brain is geared towards visual information. Having a list of goals for the year is one thing, but converting them into visual images that remind you of the goals is much more powerful because that part of your brain does not deal with words. So tapping into the visual is critically important. So I want to recommend that you install this. It's really worked a treat for me. In the morning, I usually do this when I have my first cup of coffee, and it makes me excited about the day. And that's how you should set yourself up for success. Instead of checking your work emails, feeling stressed out and freaked out, starting your day like this really kind of sets the tone. So that brings me to the end of this little review. Now we're going to get into the stuff that I really want us beyond the physical, beyond the logistics of the planner. This is the stuff I want us to focus on. But firstly, I just want to thank you for the support in purchasing the planner in 2020 and 2021. I really appreciate it. I think you can all understand, as a small business owner, this has been a tough year and it really has made a difference. I hope you're going to enjoy using it as much as I enjoyed creating it.